Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. I hope you guys are all doing wonderfully well. It's time to talk about the Championship. We're going to be revealing one player from every single Championship club that you need to keep an eye out in the 2021-22 season. I feel like I'm in space when I'm saying numbers like that. That's not for here, it's not for now. What is for now is for you to move your mouse and hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video by the end of it. And also, if you get to the end of the video and you've felt like it's worth your while, then please do consider subscribing to the channel as we look to march on to 150k. Let's get into this video, and also a little bit of extra fun. I'm going to try and do some of the accents of the different teams. It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? I can't see that offending anyone. Let's begin with Barnsley. I can't see that offending anyone. So for Barnsley, I'm going to go with Callum Styles. Now, no, forget it. I'll just do the name, okay? I'm just going to do the, it's too much, isn't it? So, for Barnsley, Callum Styles. Callum Styles, really interesting one, this, because it's going to be an unexpected position change for him. Alex Mauer, the main man for Barnsley last season, what was an absolutely fantastic season. Both him and Ishmael have both gone to West Brom, and so there's a place in centre midfield that needs to be filled, and for Barnsley this is a bit of a surprise, but I think for Barnsley fans, they won't be surprised by this move. Callum Styles moving from that left wing-back position into centre midfield. I mean, he's got that quality that you need. He's got the energy as well, which you're going to need, especially for this Barnsley setup and team, because they play on the front foot, and so I think him moving into this Mazzala role could be really interesting for him in terms of his career. Last season, he did get involved in terms of goal contributions. 7 goal contributions in total, 4 goals and 3 assists. And I think that's the exciting thing with this, is the 4 goals within that. I think if you can use him as a box-to-box midfielder, despite coming from that position and then moving into central midfield, I think he's a super talented guy. And I think he could have a really cracking season for a Barnsley team that might struggle to kind of reach the same heights, but will still continue to be an incredibly awkward opposition for any team in the Championship. I can't see that offending anyone. So offensive. So for Birmingham, we're going to go with a double here. Bit of box office with Chucks and and Jordan Graham. Wow! So what I was trying to say there was that I'm going to go for a couple of players here, because I think they've had a really good transfer window, Birmingham, and I think they can be optimistic for an improved performance this season, and that will come from having a bit more box office. They've got some tidy players that they brought in terms of Chong and Ryan Woods, but the players that I really like are Jordan Graham and Chucks and First off, with Jordan Graham, you've got a player who is coming back to Birmingham. You know, he's been at Aston Villa, he's been at Wolves, but last season at Gillingham, he had a really, really good season. 12 goals, 6 assists in League One for a team that did okay. He was really the main man. He's that winger. He's going to get past his fullback. He's going to drive into the box. He's going to get crosses in for those big strikers that they are building, and I think there's going to be a very clear pattern of play when it comes to Lee Bowyer's Birmingham side this season. But the big thing with him is that he's going to offer exactly what Birmingham need, which is creativity and creating big chances. 14 big chances created by Jordan Graham last season. The other player I've got to talk about, because the thing with Birmingham is they needed some box office, and they've got it in Chucks and Last season, he played 38 games in total. Only 11 of those were starts, but still scored 15 goals. He got 15 goals, 2 assists, 9 yellow cards, and 2 red cards. He's a very big, imposing striker. If you think of Jukovic and then Chucks and maybe coming off the bench or starting games as well, I think the pattern of play is going to be very clear for Birmingham, and he will be very exciting, because if you think of the goal frequency that he brings, 102 minutes per goal in League One is pretty exceptional, and I think the skills that he has will move into the Championship and continue to thrive. Funny time for Blackburn, and of course I could talk about Adam Armstrong, but I have spoken about him previously on the channel, and we all know that he's really good, you know, scoring 28 league goals, and if they do lose him, that's a problem. But maybe Ben Brereton Diaz, as he's now calling himself, could be the cult hero for Blackburn. You know, you got to remember with him that he's only 22. He's only 22. And he needs to step up, and I think he's now had the games to do so. You know, for him to be that cult hero from Stoke but playing for Chile. Yes, he was playing for Chile, but he struck up a really lovely partnership with Eduardo Vargas in the Copa America. He was able to get himself a goal and get himself an assist, and the fans loved him in that squad, and he was there on merit. A very, you know, this is a strong national team in Chile. So he's a good player, strong player, and he needs to kind of step on in terms of his career, as I said, as a 22-year-old, and I think this could be the season for him to do it for Blackburn. Oh, yeah. What am I doing? Blackpool. Kenneth Dougal. I'm going to go with Kenneth Dougal, defensive midfielder who really shone during the playoffs. A player who really stepped up for the team, scoring 1 goal in the semi-final against Oxford and then grabbing 2 in the final for a player who is, ultimately a defensive midfielder. He really did kind of step up. And I wonder, maybe I'm just kind of looking for it, when you think of the players like Jedinak, those kind of Australian centre midfielders who've got that great mentality. I feel like Dougal maybe has that for them. And when a team gets promoted, you're obviously going to have players that are able to step up, and I think he might be that kind of player, as someone who's a little bit older in terms of a squad that's pretty young, actually. The average squad age for the starting 11 of that playoff final was 26.4. Jonathan Dougal is 28, and yep, there's special mentions, of course. You've got to go with Jerry Yates, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does, but I think he is that shining figure for them, and Dougal, maybe we don't talk about him as much because he is that defensive midfielder. And I think also the other person I've got to talk about is Neil Critchley himself, because there are a few managers there that I think still possibly going under the radar unless you're, a high-quality football fan like you guys. But Neil Critchley, I think with the contacts that he's got, how he's going to be able to use the loan market, which is going to be crucial for all the Championship and EFL clubs this season. If you think of what he did with Ellis Sims, bringing him from Everton, it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to get him back. But even if he doesn't, I think there'll be other players that he's able to bring through. And if you see Blackpool having a mid-table finish this season or even just staying up, expect him to be linked with absolutely every club in the Championship as soon as they lose a manager. Bournemouth. Dominic Solanke. I think Dominic Solanke could be pretty crucial for Bournemouth this season because he's slowly starting to kind of find his feet. So much expectation on him, and obviously that hasn't worked out in terms of his time during the Premier League. But now as a 23-year-old, I think he's now getting to that point where he's had close to 150 games, and I think that's always such a marker for a player to kind of understand who they are, understand maybe their body at times, and I think that might be the case with Dominic Solanke as a bigger striker, and to then start to be clinical and fluid and fluent in their play. What you could see is a team that wants to control possession. I think that's probably the road that they will go down, or they could play with counter-attacking. Both sets of play would suit Solanke down to the ground because he has got that energy. There were 8 assists from him last season. So as a lone striker, if you were playing wingers, then he could do that. But again, if you had that possession-based way of playing, he has got the size as well to score goals in the penalty area. Almost a bit like a kind of Mitrovic vibe, maybe. There might be something in that for Scott Parker. He's seen that work in the Championship pretty well. 13 goals last season. Every single one was from inside the box. So he has got that instinct as a poacher. I think he's been struggling with confidence over the last few seasons, but I think this season could be the year for Dominic Solanke. I'm struggling with Bristol City, no doubt about that. Hannover Masengo. Hannover Masengo is really, really interesting. He cost 7 million a couple of years ago for them. And as that central midfielder, I think maybe he struggled in terms of size. I'm not really sure how tall he is. I think 5'8", around that size. And when you are like that, you either need to be kind of solid or you need to be quick in terms of moving the ball. And last season, I think he just didn't really get a fair crack of the whip. 18 of his 27 appearances last season were starts, so he was a substitute quite often in a team that really, really struggled in Bristol City last year. He was averaging only 56 minutes per game, so he was quick to be kind of taken off. He was excusable, and I think that can't be the case for a player of his quality, someone who's come from Monaco and gone for that kind of price. You would expect so much more, and even in a struggling side, his pass accuracy was 80% last season, 2.3 tackles and interceptions per 90, whilst only being booked once. It's pretty impressive, and I think there's just a lot more to be seen from Masengo, because he's got a newfound physicality in him from what I've read, and I feel like he's just got so much talent there on the ball as a proper centre midfielder that this is the season for him as a 20-year-old to really start to step up for Bristol City. Cardiff. I'm stopping now. That's it. I'm sorry. So the player I'm going to choose for Cardiff is Ruben Colwill. Now, Ruben Colwill is a really interesting one that you probably haven't heard about. He's a 19-year-old, quite gangly attacking midfielder, but technically really, really exciting. And there aren't that many kind of stats and numbers on him because he hasn't played that much. He only had his first team debut in April. But there's a few things here that make me wonder that I think he's going to have a breakout season this season. First of all, he went to Euro 2020. Robert Page felt that he had to take him within his squad because he just blew him away in the training that he did after being called up for the very first time. I think that speaks volumes. Secondly, the fact that Johnny Williams hasn't been given a contract at Cardiff makes me think that although Mick McCarthy will probably play a style where the attacking midfielders aren't that integral to the style of play, especially with someone like Kiefer Moore there to hold it up and also someone to hit, and the very direct style that Cardiff played, I still think that they're looking to kind of utilise him and get him those games. Only 6 games last season. I think he will have a whole host more minutes this season for Cardiff City, and I think he'll catch the eye with his ability on the ball, and of course as an attacking midfielder, no doubt he'll be scoring a few goals along the way. Last one, Coventry, because I can do that one, I can say that word. Callum O'Hare. I'm going to go with Callum O'Hare. Now this is a player of course that a lot of Championship fans will be aware of. 46 games last season, 40 starts. I think it's with him, it's kind of, I want more from him. And I think with Coventry City as a team that came up and I think had a real adrenaline about them, and that's what just about got them over the line, really. This season, you'll have a lot of players there that have had that experience for Coventry City, but will want to go that step further. And I think that's what you want to see with Callum O'Hare, playing kind of in that inside forward position. The assists were good, 8. The goals, not so much, just 3 goals. But I've seen this several times with QPR, that there are sometimes players that kind of, as the season gets to its end and you're mid-table and safe, you kind of get those minutes and they kind of go, oh, okay. They kind of recalibrate themselves and go, I'm a Championship player now. I know what I'm doing. And I think in that final game against Millwall, 6-1, scored 2, set up 1. I think maybe you've seen that kind of that seed that will grow into what is a really exciting Championship player in Callum O'Hare. What we want to see this time is a lot more goals from Callum O'Hare. And if he does, then the big teams will start to look out for him. Derby County. Give me a minute. Jason Knight. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm really, really sorry, Derby fans. This is, this is tough. This is so tough for you guys, and it's completely not your fault. And I have huge compassion for what you're going through. Obviously, I've been there with QPR at different times over the years. Let's pick a player, though. We can do this. Now, look, if you look at Derby's squad at the moment, 13 players, 2 of which are goalkeepers, 2 of which have long-term injuries. There is a player who has huge talent, hasn't really showcased it in the last season. I'm going to go with Louis Sibley. Now, is Louis Sibley going to be able to thrive in this Derby team? Absolutely not. Like I just said, they've got 13 players, 2 of which are injured. 1 of which has just got injured by their own manager. But Louis Sibley does have talent. That's the one thing I can offer up. And although last season he was only averaging 36 minutes of game time per game, he does have talent and he will need that opportunity. Now, he is a Championship quality player, and if he was at a Barnsley, for example, I think in that kind of ethos and style of play where there's a lot of energy and everyone working as a team, then he would be fine and he would start to thrive as a 19-year-old. But the academy graduate won't get that opportunity because he's going to be playing in a squad that feels pretty rotten, and if they are able to sign some of these free agents, it will be an aged squad as well. So a very difficult time for Derby, but Louis Sibley could be that guy who gets that game time, which of course will be good for his development. For Fulham, I'm going to go with Fabio Carvalho. Now, we spoke about him on this channel. We were talking about youth wonder kids that are going to make it through. And we were right when it came to Fabio Carvalho. In the last few games of the season, he got some game time in the Premier League. He'd done brilliantly in Premier League 2 and for Fulham's under-23s. And then he got 4 appearances. He also was able to get himself his first goal, and that first goal being in the Premier League as well. He played on the right wing, But he is a real, like, the name is perfect for him because he's a little guy, but incredibly agile with the ball, great change of pace. And as much as he can play as a right winger, he can also play as a sort of central attacking midfielder. I think he's a player that probably would have gone out on loan if Fulham had been able to stay up last season because he needs that game time. But now that they are in the Championship, it could be perfect for him to get that experience. And I think what people will be really surprised with is not just kind of the moments of excitement that get you off your seat, but also the end product in terms of creating chances and also getting a goal himself. Watch out for Fabio Carvalho. He could really make a splash. Predictable Jimbo having two players called Colwill in a video. I am just so predictable. Yep, you saw it coming. Huddersfield Town. We're going to go with Levi Colwill. The latest in those Chelsea defenders, centre-backs, loanees that go into the Championship and excite a lot of players and then go, he might have a chance at Chelsea, and inevitably he won't, but he will then go to another team and have a cracking career because that's what Chelsea do. They stockpile players and make great money out of them despite them never really having an opportunity at Chelsea themselves. But that's the world that we live in, and Levi Colwill is a really exciting centre-back that's going to come in for a team that kind of needs that solidity. I think defensively they were very, very poor. Overall, I think Huddersfield were very poor last season. The ball-playing central defender played 18 times last season for Chelsea's under-23s, who finished second in Premier League 2. And I think that the best demonstrations come from a pre-season game. I'll show you a clip now. His ability is kind of to break the lines. I think that's what's really exciting about him. A bit like players like Gay for Swansea last season. A player who knows and has been educated to be on the ball and to be proactive as a centre-back, which could be really interesting in a Huddersfield Town team managed by Carlos Corberán, who often has these quite complicated plans and styles of play that he wants to utilise with Huddersfield, but hasn't really had the players to do so. So someone like Levi Colwill, who, I mean, it's a lot of pressure on an 18-year-old, but his ability on the ball is really impressive, and so it might allow Huddersfield to play the way that Corberán wants to play. For Hull City, I'm going to go with Keane Lewis Potter. Really, really impressed me last season in League One with Hull City. He was crucial to them. 13 goals, 5 assists, 13 big chances created for a goal-scoring, left-sided, inverted winger. He's kind of got Harvey Barnes vibes about him a little bit. And I think what I really love about him is it shows a kind of different route for these exciting young players. Like, a lot of those players are at their sort of top clubs and they get shipped about. Like, there's been a lot of talk about someone like Izzy Brown recently, who sadly has been injured again, but he's spent his entire career kind of out of a suitcase. Someone like Keane Lewis Potter can kind of grow with the club. I think it's a really great route for a player to make. And as a sort of 19, 20-year-old in League One, to be so integral to a team that won the title, great for his development, great for his mentality. And now the sort of springboard into the Championship, I think he can grow, obviously, and develop and do fantastically for them. You just hope that he can kind of deal with the pressure that might come during a sort of barren spell or barren run for this Hull City team. Luton Town. I'm stopping now. That's it. I'm sorry. Luton Town could surprise a few this season. They've sort of gently built year on year, and they've got a really nice vibe going into this new season, of course, with Jones at the helm and a settled squad with some really interesting additions. One being Reece Burke. Reece Burke, I haven't got too many centre-backs in this list, and he's one of them because of the quality that he showed last season. Again, in League One, as a 24-year-old, being part of a Championship side, by that I mean, Championship winning side, I thought he was just brilliant for them. His average SofaScore rating was 7.9, 34 appearances last season, 15 clean sheets. And I think the stats that I really loved were the fact that he didn't make a single error that led to a shot last season. Now, of course, the collective of Hull City worked incredibly hard and they were the best team in the league, so that will be part of it. But he's a huge part of that as well. He was only dribbled past 0.1 times per 90, but also very tidy with the ball. And I think for Luton to kind of move themselves forward, they need to be that little bit better on the ball themselves, and Reece Burke will come in and bring that. And he completed 80% of his passes last season, 88% 88% of those in his own half he completed as well. And there was a few long balls as well, successful ones. 3.2 long passes were successful per 90 last season. So he's definitely got that potential to kind of grow in the Championship, and he'll be able to do that with Luton. Middlesbrough, and I mean this in the best way, with Neil Warnock, are putting together an absolutely minging squad. I mean that in the best possible way, because Neil Warnock's not messing about. He's gone for size. He's gone for ugly, annoying, I don't want to play you kind of footballers. And Uche Ikpeazu is top of that list in terms of talent. But then when you look at the likes of Sammy Amiobi, who is kind of misleading because, yes, he is big and physically imposing, I guess. But actually, he's just got twinkle toes, so that doesn't matter too much. But Matt Crooks, signing Matt Crooks from Rotherham, you just saw it. And if you look at the picture of them, they're both so happy because Neil Warnock knows what he's going to get. And Matt Crooks knows what he can offer. And for that, Middlesbrough, you've got to watch out for them this season. But Ikpeazu, I think that what I really loved about him last season was that he was doing a lot of the work on his own. He got 6 goals last season, which doesn't sound that impressive, but I think his hold-up play, his work rate, he's got better feet than you would give him credit for. Great touch for a big lad, you might say. He'd earned the right to play Championship football, and overall, I'm delighted to see him in the Championship, but I am slightly scared to see what he will achieve with Middlesbrough, because they're going to be a very interesting outfit this year. Millwall, Benik Afobe. He is a cracking Championship striker when he's at his best. He's gone through some very difficult times, both on and off the pitch, and I think all football fans, regardless of who you support, would love to see him banging in the goals. I really hope he doesn't do it in the first game against QPR, but aside from that, he's had to kind of go away. Of course, the transfer to Stoke just really didn't work for him. He went to Trabzonspor in Turkey and did okay. 5 goals from 10 starts, 28 apps in total. But we know he's better than that. We know that he can thrive in the Championship. And with Millwall, I think he will bring that kind of star power. I think it's a really lovely fit, and it's what Millwall are missing, that quality goal scorer. And I really, really hope Afobe is one to watch this season, because he deserves it. Talking about a prodigy now with Nottingham Forest, Brennan Johnson. Last season, dynamite for Lincoln City, who are a really exciting team to watch under Michael Appleton. Scoring 11 goals, assisting 5. He's a left winger who wants to kind of get on the ball, dribble at the opposition. 1.4 successful dribbles per 90 last year. Key aspect of his game. Another key aspect is his positioning. Always ready to receive the ball, but also kind of looks to find lovely positions to receive the ball to then square up the opposition and get at the opposition. Currently, he's a Nottingham Forest player. He's been linked with the likes of Leeds United, and that could still happen. And I think that would be a real sad thing for Nottingham Forest, who've kind of helped with his development in terms of letting him go to Lincoln and now want to see the fruits of that labour. But it might not be the case if Leeds United or another Premier League club come in and swoop for him. But if he does stay in the Championship, he will be a really exciting player to watch this season. There's something in the water at Peterborough, because they'd love to bring a striker through. Ivan Toney, of course, previously, and now Johnson, Clark, Harris. The guy's got it all, and he really showcased that in League One last season and will do that this season. Goals, goals, goals. How do you like them? How do you like them? Because he can offer them in any way you want. 31 goals, 6 headers, 25 with his feet, 7 penalties, 3 free kicks, 5 goals outside the box. He's a very, very complete striker. And he struck up a lovely partnership with Siriki Dembele last season. That's going to be huge for Peterborough this season as a promoted side who have generally bounced straight back down, if that's a thing. Can you bounce down? I don't think you can. Let me know in the comments, guys. Can you bounce down? I don't think you can, but you might think differently. I'm putting it on you now, despite my mistake. The point is, he's decent. For Preston, I'm going to go with Matthew Olasunde. They've signed him on a 3 transfer from Rotherham. The stats don't really back it up, but Rotherham didn't really play in a style that kind of suited what he offers, which is genuine pace and attacking ability. I think that's exactly what Preston need this season, and he will give you that kind of that verve and excitement down that right-hand side in 2 ways. You could do it with a back 3 and he's a wing-back or in a 3-4-3. You could do that as well, or just as a full-back. That genuine pace to get forward, but also for those recovery runs as well. I think he's a really exciting player, and at 23, he's got so much potential still to be unearthed. Come on, you super hoopser. Not Reading, QPR. QPR, Chris Willock. Reading's next, by the way. I'm going to go with Chris Willock. there's a lot of these kind of players that I've seen over the years with QPR where they kind of have a really good second half of the season and then take that into the next season. I think we saw it with Abir Eze, we've seen it with Ilias Chair, we've certainly saw it with Bright Asay Samuel, a player who kind of, like I say, as it kind of wound down for a mid-table team, that player kind of started to kind of thrive and feel confident in the Championship. And Chris Willock is a great example of that. For any of you who saw the pummeling of Manchester United recently, Chris Willock was a big part of that. And what's really interesting is how you fit all these players in. And what I'm really excited about is the partnership between him and Ilias Chair. Certainly on that left-hand side, we were kind of looking to overload the opposition a lot of the time. And there was a fluidity to where Ilias Chair wanted to go, where Chris Willock could go. I mean, his success rate in terms of dribbling is 71%, which is really, really strong. 1.2 successful dribbles per 90 last season. Didn't score that many goals, 3 goals, 5 assists, but he didn't play enough, really. He was kind of establishing himself in the side. He's got huge potential, really, really excited about what he can do. I guess maybe in terms of being the talisman for a team, he's maybe not there yet. Maybe that needs another season, but I really, really like him. And I think he's, as well as being an exciting dribbling player, he's also actually kind of selfless at times. And I'm really excited to see what he does this season. Similar kind of style for Reading, the less super hoops. Ovi Ajaria. Now, Reading are struggling a little bit in terms of their finances. They've had to let some players go. Elise has been sold to Palace. Omar Richards gone to Bayern Munich, which, I mean, shows the talent that they had in the squad. But Ajaria is similar to Willock in the fact that his dribbling ability is really interesting, and especially in modern football, I think the ability to go past someone to then kind of create the start of something is huge, and Ajaria can always really offer that, but he does it from a lot deeper. Often the play kind of goes through him. His successful dribbles per 90 is 2.7, which is really, really high. Key passes 1.7 per 90, which is good. I think it can be better, and I think the problem he sometimes has is because he is that kind of starting point as a player who kind of gets on it, then takes a player out of the game from a deeper position, which sucks other players out to lead to opportunities and overloads. That's something you need to kind of do, but we need that end product from him as well. And with those big players, as I've said, kind of leaving, Lucas João, I know we talk about a lot and will score goals for the team, but you need to create chances for him. And Ajaria, I think, can step up now this season as one of the main men for Reading and possibly do that. Sheffield United, I'm going to go with Ryan Brewster. I mean, how exciting to have him back in the Championship. I think he's had a tough season, but so did every single player in that Sheffield United side. And maybe, just maybe, as excited as we all are and were about him, maybe a move to the Championship for another season might have been just what he needed. But I think it wasn't the case because he had done so well. 10 goals from 19 starts. That's a goal every 167 minutes when he was at Swansea in that half season. Kind of was a real talisman in terms of getting them into the playoffs that season. And now being back in the Championship, he'll get more opportunities. There'll be more space. There'll be more mistakes, of course, from defenders as well at a lower level. And I really do expect him to thrive because I think he does have that inner confidence in himself and ultimately the quality. I think it could be a real big season for him. And he should be looking to be winning the player of the league this season for Sheffield United. Because if he does, that means Sheffield United will probably back in the Premier League. Stoke City, it's the man that we always go to when we talk about Stoke City, and I really hope we can talk about someone else this season. But for one last time, Tyrese Campbell is, of course, the one to watch. Partly down to the fact that he got injured last season. He started off brilliantly, scoring 6, assisting 5 from 16 games, and Stoke City fans were thinking maybe we've got a chance here at getting into the playoffs. He got a bad injury over the Christmas period, and that was the end of Stoke City. They really didn't have any kind of goal-scoring form whatsoever. And I think the big thing with him is that he offers that kind of pace and that also that ability to get on the ball and take players out of the game a little bit. You don't have that with the likes of Fletcher up top or Powell as well. 1.2 successful dribbles per 90 is pretty strong and highlights that skill set. And I think ultimately he is one good season away from a Premier League move. And so if he can stay injury free, I think it's great for Stoke City, but it's great for him as well because he should, we hope, start scoring the goals again and Stoke City will reap the rewards. One to watch, but also one to step up for Swansea City, Ben Cabango. A lot of the plaudits, I mean, more so the headlines, I think, went to Mark Gay last season. And understandably so, he was fantastic. But Cabango was pretty much as good, you know. If you look at the aerial duels last season, he was winning 4.4 aerial duels. You know, the guy's 6'2", unbelievable in the air. and his success rate was 61%, which is really, really strong. I think the reason why I want to highlight him is the fact that Woodman has gone, Ayew has gone, and Gay is gone. And when you lose those, in particular Gay and Woodman, it's down to him to step up and offer that leadership to try and retain some element of stability for Swansea City, because I'm sure Swansea City fans are pretty nervous about the start of the season, and those centre-back positions are so crucial. So he will once again have to step up and become a leader for this team. Now, everyone's going to be talking about Matheus Pereira, I understand that, but it looks like he could go, might go. Let's see what happens, but regardless, we know what he's like. We know he's good. So I'm going to go with someone else who I think will really thrive, and did thrive last time West Brom were in the Championship and should do so again. Grady Diangana. The reason I'm going for him is with Valérien Ismaël's style, it's been kind of referred to as basketball when it comes to the way he played with Barnsley. Although it's going to be a real kind of change of culture after Sam Allardyce with West Brom, I think Diangana could have a really great season under Ismaël, because in terms of him having successful dribbles, he had the most out of any West Brom player last season. According to FBref, it was 1.75 per 90, and he was fourth in terms of the most carries into the final third with 1.53 per 90. He's great on the ball. He can dribble past players. I think that could be crucial in terms of the transition element of how West Brom will inevitably want to play. That marriage of kind of intensity, quick in transition, but also quality on the ball is going to be really important to West Brom under Ismaël, and I think Diangana is going to be huge in that whole setup. So there you have it, ladies and gents. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you are still watching and you've got any kind of value out of it, please do a couple of things for me. Please do consider subscribing to the channel. Please do consider hitting the notification bell, and please do consider hitting the like button. As you know, it matters. It makes a massive difference, and especially with Championship content, often it kind of doesn't get out there into the world, so every single like is going to be crucial for this video to succeed, and we want it to succeed, don't we? Yeah, well, I do. Thanks for watching, guys. Get down in the comments, let me know who I missed out on this list, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.